What's up, Gremlins, and welcome to Level Up, Episode 3, The Girl Who Cried Wolfenstein. I have to apologize for two things before we get started. Number one, the video for Episode 2, Into the Stardew Valley of Death, got semi-corrupted during the uploading process, so some of the effects didn't transfer properly, mainly the ones where I tried to compare the diversity mod to the vanilla Stardew. Hopefully this won't be an issue in the future. And number two, today's episode is going to be a little bit on the short side. I've never actually played Wolfenstein, so I have no input in terms of quality of gameplay or plot, other than on a superficial level from what I've seen and what I've read. Today is June 3rd, 2019. On this day in 1934, Dr. Frederick Banting, who discovered insulin, was knighted. Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels was released in Japan in 1986. And fitting for today's topic, Wolfenstein 3D was released for the Xbox 360 in 2013. Alongside other IPs such as Doom and Quake, first-person shooter Wolfenstein has almost become synonymous with gaming. Since the initial release of Castle Wolfenstein, the IP has grown into 11 published games, with 2 slated to come out later this year. So what is it about this game that made it popular enough to survive all the way to 2019? Well, it's 2 words: shooting Nazis. Well guys, gals, and non-binary pals, my name is Andy, I'm a loser with internet connection, and I want to help you level up your life. With 11 games already released, most of the admiration of fans and critics, Wolfenstein's mechanics and gameplay have made it a hit. Along with Doom, Wolfenstein helped popularize the first-person shooter genre, which gave way to games such as Call of Duty, BioShock, and Overwatch. I currently have the most recent games in my Steam wishlist, and once I have money and a laptop that isn't a potato, I'll probably stream a playthrough of them at some point. For this podcast, I'm going to talk about the first 3 games and the 3 newest ones, along with the ones that are coming out. Castle Wolfenstein was released in 1981, and it was mainly a stealth game, a departure from what it currently is now. Players took control of an American prisoner jailed in Castle Wolfenstein. The players attempt to escape, avoiding guards as they try to steal war plans. The game is set in World War II with a top-down perspective as well as a side-scroller look. The player is given a gun and some ammo at the beginning, but using the weapon may attract other guards. Castle Wolfenstein sold 20,000 units after release. It had relatively mixed reviews, but most critics agree that it was a solid game with good mechanics. The sequel, Beyond Castle Wolfenstein, sees the player attempt to assassinate Hitler by planting a bomb in his briefcase. It maintains the same gameplay, stealth over shooting if all else fails, while adding a few new mechanics such as a pass and bribing system. These 2 new mechanics allowed players to better stealth so long as they were used correctly. Using the wrong pass or not offering enough money will result in a guard raising an alarm or killing you on sight. Bodies of dead guards can be dragged to hide them, and the player is given a knife instead of a grenade as in the previous version to allow for quieter kills. The player wins the game if they can successfully plant the bomb and then escape before it explodes. The game was released in 1984, received pretty low scores as some reviewers stated that once the player learned how to correctly use the passes, they will breeze through it, killing replayability. With reviews such as these, it would seem that this would be the end of Wolfenstein, but the story isn't over yet. id Software obtained the IP for Wolfenstein. They used it to release their second game, Wolfenstein 3D, in 1992, a year before they released Doom. This version of Wolfenstein introduced the first-person shooter mechanic, which it is now famous for, as well as removed some of the stealth action for more of an over-the-top action set piece. This is also the first time that we are put into the shoes of William B.J. Blazkowicz, which I think is probably one of the coolest video game names ever. BJ is a Polish-American spy who is captured. The game is divided into 3 episodes: Escape from Castle Wolfenstein, Operation Eisenfaust, and Die Führer Die. The game begins with BJ being captured while trying to steal documents for Operation Eisenfaust. He escapes, discovering that the project is in fact to create undead mutants, and goes to kill Mecha Hitler. It's literally just Hitler and a mecha you have to shoot to death. The game was censored in Germany due to the Nazi symbols in Mecha Hitler, and in the Nintendo SNES version it was also censored, but only to remove the blood as it was still going for the family-friendly market. The game received unprecedented praise. Critics and fans absolutely ate it up, with many 5 out of 5 reviews. A prequel was released, The Spear of Destiny, shortly after, which tells the tale of BJ trying to steal back the mythical weapon. It should be noted that the Spear of Destiny, in actual mythology, is the spear that a Roman centurion used to pierce the side of Jesus Christ as he died on the cross. On the 20th anniversary of Wolfenstein 3D, it was released as a free-to-play browser game. id Software did not make another Wolfenstein game, as their hit Doom was to be released that following year, but it was their game design that saved the IP and made it what it is today. The 2.5D design is iconic, as is Mecha Hitler. In 2009, Activision released Wolfenstein, which has introduced some supernatural elements of the game. The game was considered passable, but not really a Wolfenstein game, save for killing Nazis. However, after the release, Activision handed over the IP to Bethesda, the publisher and developer for games such as the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series. On May 20th, 2014, Wolfenstein: The New Order was released. It was considered a reboot for the series, though maintained the first-person shooter perspective as set by Wolfenstein 3D. Players once again take control of BJ, who is explicitly stated to be a Polish Jewish American. The game's first moments take place in the 1940s, but after BJ suffers a major head injury and is put in a coma, the game fast-forwards to the 1960s, where Nazis have forced the Allies to surrender. It was this twist that made the game stand out when compared to other World War II shooters. The retro-futuristic feel of the game, along with the diesel punk aesthetics, added elements that were not seen in other games in the genre. The game then focuses on BJ joining the Resistance. At the end of the title, BJ is gravely wounded, and as he lays dying, he recites the New Colossus. To some Americans, the title of the poem may be familiar, as it is the sonnet written by Emma Lazarus. The poem itself was written to help raise money for the construction of the Statue of Liberty, and it is emblazoned on the pedestal. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed Sungate gates shall stand a mighty woman with torch whose flame is prisoned lightning, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, her mild eyes command the air bridge harbor that twin cities fame. Keep, ancient lands, your stored pomp, cries she, with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. The recitation of the poem is also included in the next title in the reboot series, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Between the release of The New Order and The New Colossus, a prequel for the reboot was released, Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. The game is a loose remake of Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and it is a standalone expansion of the world of Wolfenstein. Taking place after the events of New Order, The New Colossus can actually be played as a standalone experience. Released in 2017, The New Colossus follows BJ and the Resistance as they try to turn the tide in their favor. BJ is now public enemy number 1. In later parts of the game, BJ is actually publicly executed, but is revived when his head is attached to the body of a Nazi super soldier. Once the main antagonists are killed, the revolution to liberate America has begun. The game also has an expansion pack, The Freedom Chronicles, which told the tales of various resistant fighters scattered throughout America. The New Colossus is available on all platforms, including the Switch, unlike The New Order, which is only available on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. The rebooted games have received many positive reviews, but there's not to say that it is without its critics. However, these critics come from very interesting places. Make America Nazi-free again. That is a sentiment that any sane person will agree with, as Nazis are horrible, horrible people who advocate for horrible, horrible violence. It is with a heavy heart that actual Nazis exist in America, using their free speech to advocate for the extermination of Jewish people, people of color, disabled people, queer people, and anyone who disagrees with them. This statement had apparently rubbed them the wrong way. The slogan was ripped directly from Trump's presidential slogan, Make America Great Again. I hate those words so much. Some see this as a threat against them. Good. Others who consider themselves Trump supporters first and humans second see this as comparing them to Nazis. My favorite tweet against this super controversial statement is, wow, way to make it political. Another goes as far to say, yeah, well, it wasn't about to play a game about endlessly killing white people anyway. GTA San Andreas is more my speed. Imagine seeing something along the lines of Nazis are bad and thinking it was about you. The game has always been political, taking their anti-Nazi stance some 30 years ago with the release of the first game. It kinda reminds me of people who like Rage Against the Machine, only to realize that the songs have political messages. This year, 2019, 2 more Wolfenstein games are slated for release. Wolfenstein Youngblood and Wolfenstein Cyberpilot. Youngblood is to be set in the 1980s, which is when the original game was released, and it follows VJ's twin daughters, Jessica and Sophia, as they search for their missing father and try to free occupied France. With 2 protagonists, the game has both a single-player and co-op mode, allowing for the player to play the game with a friend. The deluxe edition of the game has a buddy pass, which can be given to a player who doesn't have the game in order to join co-op. The game is set to be released on July 22nd, 2019, and I am super hyped. Co-op sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, as well as a great experience. Wolfenstein Cyber Pilot will also take place in the 80s and will be a VR adventure where players take the control of a French hacker working for the Resistance. It does take place in the same time and setting as Youngblood, but it will serve as its own story. I'm actually kind of excited to see if they can be brought together somehow in terms of like cameos or Easter eggs. Wolfenstein is ingrained into gaming history for better or for worse, and honestly I think it's for better. It's the granddaddy of first-person shooters and helped pave the way for the games that we know and love today. Want more Level Up? Subscribe to Mom Said It Was My Turn on Twitch and YouTube, and tune in next Monday for episode 4 of Level Up, the Pocket Monster Mash, where I will be joined by my cousin and resident Pokemon expert Cleo as we rank all 8 generations of starters. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.